Our reading tonight is a poem by Vega Destiny Star. Hope and faith go hand in hand. Hope for the future. Hope leads to a brighter future. Hope for riches. Life would be different without hope. The power of hope makes us hold on. In the worst of times, hope is there. Hope fuels our courage. It makes hearts stronger. Hope doesn't just give up on us. Hope is like faith. One must have both. So today is the first Sunday of Advent, when we light a candle for hope. The poem I chose as a reading not only spoke to me of hope, but also made me think that Advent should be a time of poetry, emotion, anticipation, and free expression. So what better time to break our usual mould and make a change? So for the services in Advent, we're going to have poems instead of readings, each on the subject of the service. And today's service was about hope. And I was reading the poem, I kind of came up with this title, Is Hope Lost? And a picture there. I'm sure we've all had dark times in our lives, times when we felt truly alone, when it seemed like there was no hope of things getting any better. I know I have. What's worse is that the time when I felt at my lowest, trapped in darkness, was actually at Christmas. A time when all the TV adverts about fun and joy, families laughing, smiling, carving up a turkey, playing games, everyone with a big grin on their face. But at the time it seemed that they were mocking my mood. It was some years ago, and I lived in Worthing. I lived over there with my son and my daughter, and they were away at their mother's for Christmas. And so my friend asked me over to her flat for Christmas Day and invited me to go to her daughters to spend Christmas with their family. But somehow, to me, that felt wrong. I thought I'd be like the spectre at the feast, that miserable person in the corner that no one actually wants to talk to. So instead, I declined the invitation. I said, no, I'm fine. I'll stay here in the flat and just relax for the day. After all, she had all the Sky channels. So I thought there'd be plenty for me to do. And that was okay. There was the usual Christmas telly, big comfy sofa, lots of biscuits, so I was happy. All was good. But as the day went on, my thoughts became darker and darker. My mind took a turn downwards and became absolutely convinced that I was just too much trouble. That I wasn't good enough to be around people or good enough to be cared about by anyone, even my kids. And my mind became absolutely convinced that they would all be better off without me. Now, looking back, obviously I realised that it was a time when my bipolar was particularly kind of volatile, and so I was just in a depressive downswing. But at that time, it was my total reality. After all, our brains determine how we perceive reality and how we connect with the world. So I sat there for a few hours, thoughts churning, trying to figure out what the right thing was to do. When suddenly it came to me, a sudden inspiration, an epiphany almost. I'd decided the right course of action was to take a walk along Worthing seafront up to the Peace Gardens. And when I got there, ended all very dramatic. A bit like EastEnders, really. You could see it coming, you could see it building up. But the funny thing was, as soon as the decision was made, an incredible feeling of calm and peace came over me. It was awesome compared to the churning thoughts I'd had earlier. So decision made, I set off along the seafront. Walking along the promenade, I saw a couple of fairly inebriated people, either staggering to the next party or trying to find their way home, and one or two cars for those who remained sober enough to Christmas scene in many ways. But once I passed the pier, there was nothing. There was no noise, there was no people, no cars. It was like being the only person in the whole of Worthing. The only sounds I could hear were the waves crashing on the shore, and the pebbles rolling backwards and forwards. It was incredibly peaceful, almost perfect. Then finally I arrived at the Peace Garden. It was dark, quiet, with not a living soul in sight. I found some wooden steps. They looked a bit like the steps you have going down to small boat berths, but they just kind of disappeared into the stones. So I don't know what they were for originally. But they were perfect. So I could sit there and just stare out at the sea. And I was just able to make out the white of the waves as they broke on the pebbles. It was very calming. But then I started working to split in half a Coke can that I found on the way. And having split it in half, I had a razor-sharp edge, so all was ready. I had my place, I had my implement, and all was calm, all was quiet. So without any hesitation, I extended my left wrist, rolled up my sleeve, took half the Coke can in my right hand, held it sharply, and then just as I went, all of a sudden there's, "Merry Christmas!" I was jumped out of my skin, it almost gave me a heart attack. I turned round, and there was a girl stood on the path that runs through the Peace Garden. A little blonde girl, maybe 7 years old, maybe 8. And she repeated, she went, "Merry Christmas," in a kind of, "Oi, what are you doing? Why haven't you replied?" So I said, "Oh, Merry Christmas." And she turned around and sort of skipped off along the path back towards the promenade, where I could just about make out a man and a woman. That was all pretty strange. But the strangest thing of all was that she was the spitting image of my daughter at that age. Right down to the smile. I mean, for a moment, for just one moment, I actually thought it was her. Which was daft, because my daughter was like in her late teens by then. But it reminded me of all those fun times I had with my daughter when she was that age. The adventures, the imaginary places we had been, the games we played, and how full of hope she was. How the future, to her, was exciting. It was an adventure, it was fun, it was something to be charged at. You never knew what would happen, and at that age, the possibilities are endless. It completely stunned me for a few minutes, so I just sat there staring out to sea. And all these thoughts were running through my mind. So I started to walk along the coast. The Coke can was forgotten on the steps with any thoughts of doing any harm to myself. And I walked for most of the night, all the way to the river in Littlehampton, then inland to my house in Angren, where I finally hit the bed and slept for over 24 hours. Now, I'm not sharing this today for any kind of sympathy or to say, "Oh, look, I must be special because God saved me just when I needed it," or anything like that. I'm sharing it because when I read this poem, it brought to mind that day. And on looking at it, I realised something which I hadn't realised before. And that is that you can never actually lose hope. You can only misplace it. And my story shows that it's so easy to find that even a passing child can return it to you. So no matter what you hear, no matter what you see on the news or social media, no matter what anyone says to you about the future, about the uncertainty of coming days, don't be fearful, don't knee-jerk a reaction, but instead look for the hope in it all. Because as I learnt, it is there. And remember, when you feel you have lost hope, look around. There will be someone there waiting to return it to you.